If I pulled this out of my pocket and you had to guess what it is, what would you say? I don't think many of you would guess that it is a MIDI keyboard. Very interesting design that Korg has pulled off here with the Nanokey Fold. We're going to talk all about it today. This video is not sponsored by Korg. I don't think they'll sponsor another video ever since I did this review. No, so this video is going to be sponsored by DistroKid, more about them later, and we're going to get into talking all about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Korg Nanokey Fold. In a world where MIDI controllers all start to look the same, I am hungry for a controller that has a semi-interesting, novel design. Bonus points for portability, of course. Let's talk about just the basic layout first. You got pitch and mod strips on the top. You've got a row of function buttons as well, octave and transpose buttons on the side, even a little sustain button, which I very much appreciate. Hold this button down and any notes you play will sustain until you release the sustain button. For ports, we have a USB-C port and a MIDI TRS port. The button on the top right of the keyboard not only functions as a tap tempo button, but it also functions as a shift function. So if you look at all of the black keys on the piano, they all have some type of shift function to change things about the arpeggiator, about the key, etc. Let's talk about the design. I really like this folding form factor, and I really like what they did overall with the design visually. From a materials perspective, if you look at the price of this controller, I would say for the features that it has, the price point seems to make sense. But then we have to consider the build quality and the kind of key bed, if you can call it that, we have here. The materials and the build quality of this device, I would say, are worth about like $15 to $20. I think you can probably go to the toy aisle at your local Walmart right now and find something that feels like it's going to last longer than the Korg Nanokey Fold. It is light, it is plasticky, it creaks, and I'm not sure how long this hinge is gonna last, but maybe there's some brilliant design in there that is just gonna make it. I mean, do you hear that? Let me play that sound. Maybe that's a good sound, or maybe I'm not actually supposed to make that sound. All that being said, I love this design. I love it visually. It doesn't feel like a $100 item. It feels cheap. And then we have to mention the keys. Look at these keys, quote unquote keys, and you'll see the little bubbles. These bubbles are not actual keys. They're just little pressable bubbles. The actual picture of the key, you can't press anywhere other than the circular bubble on the controller. It does not feel great. Playing slower melodies, playing some chords, not too bad, but it is pretty easy to almost accidentally lift your finger slightly off of one of these bubbles and press it again, and you get these kind of double hit sounds. So not the most ideal playing keyboard here either. Now, all of what I just said probably has you running for the hills, saying, no way, I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. However, wait. Don't go anywhere. I want to tell you about some of the features that Korg packed into this thing that have me actually not wanting to just throw this in the trash. But first, just give me 1 minute of your time. I'm going to tell you about DistroKid. I promise it won't be too bad. I have been using DistroKid since well before they ever sponsored the channel because I can upload as much music as I want to DistroKid and not have to pay every single time. I just pay once a year and I don't have to worry about paying a fee for every upload. You get your music on Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and a bunch of other platforms. But beyond that basic function, there's a lot of bonuses in DistroKid. They have different things like promo cards to help you promote your releases. If you're not a graphic designer, you're a musician. Here's some graphics that come with your DistroKid account to help you promote your release. Oh, and what's that? You're a musician, not a website builder? Well, DistroKid helps you build the hyperfollow page, which you can build out with a bunch of links for your release. The Spotify link, the Apple Music link, anywhere people are listening to your music can find your music, you want to put it there. But also, you can put any link you want on that page, like if you make a YouTube video for a live performance for one of your songs, you can put that on the hyperfollow page, so all of the important links for your album, your EP, your single are on one place. One link to share for that release. It's pretty convenient. I utilize it for my music, and if you want to get a discount, 7% off your first year of DistroKid by using my link in the description down below. They've been huge supporters of this channel, and as an artist, they've been my distributor since well before that. So take advantage of the 7% off. Start releasing your music today. All right, back to the folds. Okay, so when I talk about the build quality and the actual key bed, quote unquote, of this controller, I spoke pretty harshly about it. However, Korg actually did a pretty good job of putting a bunch of features into this controller that, if you don't think of it as a traditional keyboard per se, it can actually be a pretty useful controller. We can choose from different scales for the controller. We can lock the device to be in a specific key. We can also choose to just have like a key guide to just have the keys light up with the right notes of the scale that we've selected. But then where some of the magic starts to happen is the chord mode. The chord mode on this thing actually gives us chords in a specific key, meaning you can play all 7 chords and they will make sense in the song that you're making. You can choose the type of chord, and they even went so far as to, on the accidental notes, give us different versions of chords. Rather than just have those out of key notes be muted, we get another in key chord. Really smart implementation of a chord mode on this controller. Also, we can split the key bed so that we can have chords on one side and single notes on the other side. I thought that was really cool too. Even more magic when we engage the arpeggiator mode. You get your typical arpeggiator controls like rate and gate. So your typical up and down and short notes, long notes, but you can also change the pattern. There are preloaded patterns for the arpeggiator here, which give you different rhythms other than just a stock, 16th note up and down. We get actually interesting rhythmic patterns built into this thing. And of course, we're able to do a latch function with the arpeggiator as well, meaning that you don't have to hold the note down for the chord to continue to arpeggiate. It's great that there's an arpeggiator that works with basic single notes and an arpeggiator that works well with the chord mode. It's great that those two things talk to each other. And in really cool ways, you can combine all these features. So here we've got the split mode with chords on the left, single notes on the right. Then if I engage the arpeggiator, the left side of the keyboard is arpeggiated, while the right side is free to play single notes on top. Now we've got the basic pitch and mod strip at the top, and the pitch strip can even be used to strum through the notes in the scale. Not a proper strum mode for the chords though. But what's even more interesting about this controller is that you can combine it with Korg's editor, and you can actually do quite a bit of customization for this controller and program it to be the exact kind of controller that you want it to be. So if you remember when I was kind of dogging on this thing as a traditional keyboard, I say forget all about that. Forget that this is a keyboard and just think of it as a controller that you can customize or maybe do some things with your external gear a little easier, like playing chords. On the Ableton Move, I really don't like the note layout. I would really love for them to implement fourths note layout so I can easily play chords. But when I combine the Nanokey Fold with the Ableton Move and I play chords, it just makes it way easier. You can run the arpeggiator on the Nanokey Fold into the Move, and Move is receiving that as individual notes rather than an arpeggiator running on that track. So you can run the arpeggiator and play melodic notes on top on a single instrument, which you're not really able to do with the Move on its own. So who is this controller even for? First of all, if you're traveling with a backpack, or if you really just need a pocketable MIDI solution, space and weight is an issue, this form factor is really unique and it wouldn't be a bad choice for that kind of usage. If you have other small gear that you want to be able to control, I have my Roland S1, which is not the best playing surface either when it comes to keys, especially when it comes to playing chords. I could easily hook this thing up and suddenly I've turned it into a usable chord machine. So, while Korg's kind of skimped on the build quality in my opinion, I think they did not skimp at all on the features. If you're looking for like a main portable keyboard controller, unless the size really matters to you, I would just get something that's a little bigger and has like any other kind of key bed on it. And if there's a version 2 of this in the future, hopefully they can just improve this build quality just a little bit. I mean, in college, I used to carry around my Korg Nanokey, and like that thing would float around in my backpack and the keys would fall off, but it was like a cheap controller and I kind of like expected that to happen. If the Nanokey Fold had the same kind of keys while cheap of the original Nanokey and it could fold just like this, you'd have a great budget portable controller in my opinion. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think of the Nanokey Fold in the comments down below, improvements that you think they can make in the future to this thing. Check out the DistroKid link in the description, and thank you to my channel members for your ongoing support. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.